How do we know when it's time to listen to the heart's whispers? Hello, I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm so happy that you've dropped in to join me for another episode of Extraordinary Women TV, where we learn how to get our dreams into action. My first guest is someone you know well. Debbie Travis is an internationally recognized television personality, entrepreneur, designer, award-winning author, syndicated columnist, and so much more. She began her career in the UK as a model, transformed that into a TV career, created a highly successful design career, and has gone on to create a number of Gemini award-winning TV shows and other ventures. Well, Debbie Travis, it's so nice to have you here.
So nice to be here.
You wear a lot of hats. You have done so much. You've accomplished so much. How does it feel?
Exhausting. I exhaust myself. No, I think it just, for me, it was very much a snowball. A snowball rolling. I think I was lucky because I was the first in this country to kind of hit the DIY genre, and everything I touched for a long time just kind of grew and grew. But my great love is I'm a television producer, and I make, what a lot of people probably don't know, is I make a lot of lifestyle programs. I have a company with my husband, and we produce food shows and property shows and home shows and whatever's lifestyle, mostly around women. And we produce those shows with the US and Canada and sell them all over the world.
And that's, it's so exciting. You started your career, of course, as a model.
So I was kind of frog marched out of school at 15, right. Being told, I was never going to be a nurse, a secretary, and nobody would marry me. So I might as well hit the streets type of thing. And I did, and I moved from the north of England, which is where I was from. I couldn't wait to get out of the kind of, small-time kind of village. And I headed for London, the big lights.
Tell us about your experience being a model.
I started modelling, and I was never a great model. In those days you didn't really have supermodels, but I worked. I did a lot of catalogues, not a lot of catwalk because I don't walk very well, stand up straight. But I did a lot of, in those days models were kind of split up into your genre. Today a girl, like in most businesses, you have to be good at everything, which is quite hard for kids today. But, I was a kind of magazine model, so I was, the jumping around girl on the cover of a teenage magazine and stuff. But what it did give me, I think I subconsciously, I probably didn't realize at the time, but I got a lot of confidence.
You must have seen a lot of the world then through your work.
I remember being in Holland. I was in Amsterdam, and I was on a set, and my job was incredibly boring, and I'm in the makeup room, and I got racks of, pretty ordinary clothes. And there were a lot of models, and they were doing a big commercial for something. And I kept watching this woman. And I tell this story on stage because I love it. And she was very old. She was about 25 and very beautiful, long hair. But she had a clipboard. And she had this yellow clipboard. And she was going, I want you over here, you here. Okay, 5 of those. Bring me a jib. And I was like, oh, I want to have a clipboard. I want to be that woman. And I never forgot it, and I asked somebody, what does she do? What's her role? She's a producer,
So how did you meet your husband?
So I started painting. I thought I had to do something. I've always been a doer, I've always wanted to, do things. So I just signed up in London before I met him to do a paint finishing course, which was the kind of the big trend at the time. So I ran off with the guy. And just like badly behaved girls do, I married him 3 weeks later and ended up living in Montreal with nothing to do, didn't speak the language. There were no television stations at that time in English, and I was kind of doomed, and I nearly went mad. But then I, of course, regretted it. I really wanted to do the course, but my best friend did it. So she would tell me on the phone how to do this stuff, and I'd start practicing, and then I would do my house up. We bought a house in Montreal, and I start painting the fireplaces like marble and walls. And then I started to make friends. I was young, I was 30, and people started to come around and say, wow, oh, how did you make that wall like a Tuscan brick? Or how did you marbleize this and this? And I was like, well, I know how to do this, and would you do mine? And literally within weeks, I had a company. Being flown to New York, I was doing church roofs, I was doing synagogues, I was doing restaurants, I was doing homes. And I did it for about 4 years. And it was hard because, one of the lessons in business is if you're good at a craft, people want you. So yeah, you could keep training people, but it was like, oh no, we're paying you the big bucks, we want you here. But I used the money and I made a video. So I got a small crew, I did everything. I painted, went in front of the camera, went back to painting, and we did up a whole house. And we made a video called Decorative Paint Finishes Made Easy. And I sold 1 million copies.
So now, Debbie, we're going to take a quick break, and it's my Good to Know Minute, and I know you've got a great success tip.
I think my biggest success tip is, like I said, listen to your heart, but you need to be passionate about what you do. You have to really believe that everybody has to eat your cookie or has to love your TV show or has to you have to believe in it. And because you get many knocks, there are more people who are going to tell you, nobody watch that, nobody do this. You have to have drive, and more so today, I think.
And that's good to know. Thanks for that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Debbie Travis on Extraordinary Women TV. So stay where you are. Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking with Debbie Travis, one of Canada's most successful women. So tell me, how did you get your start then in television?
And then I was doing one show, and a producer came up to me and she said, look, all these cable channels are starting. Have you ever thought of turning this into a television show? I'm like, how do you do a television show about paint, So we came up with the idea, I did, of the painted house, and we took one small suburban just built house. A builder gave it us, and what I did to that house was actually criminal, but it was like.
But you didn't go to jail.
No, yeah. We did the bedroom 8 times. We did all different looks and whatever, and we made that show, and that show went back to Cannes. We made 8 series with $10,000, which we spend on lunch now a day, and we sent it to back to Cannes, where I'd met my husband, and it went crazy. It sold all over the world.
So Debbie, what was it like to be there in the early days of making reality television?
Towards the end of the show, I was getting a little bored, and what was interesting is Painted House was me with a big crew showing people how to paint something on a wall around a real house and a real family, which we showed a bit of. But what was going on behind the scenes was like, the kids would be tied up in the basement, Dad would be sobbing at the bottom of the garden because they'd eaten his Sunday dinner, the crew had scratched their floors, and it was just bedlam. And so one day I'm sitting here like this, and I'm waiting while they're futzing around with the lights. Turn the cameras around and shoot all this, you see. And nobody had done reality then. This was really the beginning. So I had a young director, a girl who'd come out of Much Music, very fast, very quick, and she said, well, there's no, getting you all perfect. The lighting will be having to be done as you do it. You're not going to look, the old-fashioned, all perfect and stuff like this. You're following the puck. You are literally going to, and we came up with Facelift, and Facelift was, Mum's gone away to see her cousin for 5 days, and while she's gone, me and her husband, who was always, an idiot, so he was incredibly funny, and the kids and the neighbours and the grannies and the whatever would rip their place apart. We had 20-odd cameras, so everything was shot. People breaking their arms, being bitten by dogs, children leaving home.
and in all this, you managed to keep something you said right off the top was you've developed confidence. Now, something I've been reading your blog, and you had a really interesting post recently, which is about the what ifs that come up, those self-doubts, the times that we all have self-doubt. I mean, have you had experienced times of self-doubt in this career? I mean, you've created a tremendously successful career. Your brand is known around the world. Many people know you. But are there times, and clearly you have a lot of confidence, but are there times when you go, I don't know if I can do this?
What if my kids will go to jail? No, I have the what ifs now. I didn't then because it happened very, very fast. I mean, from 95 to really 2 years ago, I did 4 major series. I did 9 books. I do a syndicated weekly column. I have 1,200 items that we design for Canadian Tire. I have a very big team. I have, I just stand there and scream all day, and it just happened. It was just the next thing and the next thing. And then, of course, you fill in all that and you're doing media and you're doing this.
What about when it's time to listen to what your heart's been saying and maybe saying to you all along? I mean, how do you know when it's time that, yes, this is what I'm going to do?
But I do listen to my heart, because I think when you look at your heart, it's what excites you. And to be honest, to do anything that doesn't excite you, you're not going to be very successful at it. But, you sit with any bunch of women and you'll always get one woman say, you know what you should do? You should go into real estate. Unless that woman goes, oh my God, I'd love to do that. She's like, yeah, but, she's never going to make it. When somebody feels, I believed when I started with paint that every woman, was excited about the fact that they could go down to a Home Depot and spend $30, and go home, put on her own clothes, put on the radio, pour out the paint, get the stencil out, and have the best morning ever. And at the end, her friends were going to go in and go, oh my God, I love it. I believe everyone needs to do that, because that's what I wanted to do. I was not a designer, if you will, who went out and went to a fancy store and said, okay, we'll take that, and that. That was never my world, And it was never my type of show. There were shows that did that. And with every chapter I've done, like I didn't want to do a book. And when I did the first book with Random House for design, which was the Painted House book, which, is still being sold and was a bestseller and won Book of the Year award, I was like, oh, I can't write. No, I can't do that, And then they gave me a big advance. I was like, yeah, I'll try. But then you say, okay, so the thing is that I know the subject matter, but I'm not a photographer, I'm not a writer, then I'll find them, and that's what you do. The biggest tip, I think, for that kind of stuff is, as you start to make a bit of money, use that money to hire the best you can. First, hire a great accountant, then hire your creative, and often people think, I do think people think it's all me. A woman came up to me 2 days ago in the airport, she said, I think you're marvellous. I said, thank you. She was an old lady. She said, how would you do those rooms in an hour? I'm like, in an hour? She said, no, it's an hour's television show. But people really do think that you do everything. And I don't. I hire people who are actually better than me. That's the key.
Thank you for being here, sharing your story and about your journey with my viewers today. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been speaking with Debbie Travis, TV personality, best-selling author, and of course, very well-known entrepreneur. For more information about Extraordinary Women TV, my guests, and to watch past episodes, I invite you to visit the website at extraordinarywomentv.com. And I'd love to stay in touch with you. Join me on Twitter for an empowering stream of Extraordinary Women TV updates. On Facebook, we can connect at Extraordinary Women TV. Well, thank you for joining me today. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.